Hi, everyone. Today it's a real pleasure for me to have in studio Lene Lieber-Delseth from the University of Oslo, where she's based at the Natural History Museum. Lene has been the principal investigator on a big collaborative study in which I was very fortunate to be involved in, but several of our other colleagues have also participated in this research, as you can see from the title slide. What's interesting is that this work was done on ichthyosaurs. And before we go any further, I'm going to ask Lene to tell us more about ichthyosaurs.
Yes, so ichthyosaurs were marine reptiles. They lived in what we often call the age of dinosaurs, but they were not dinosaurs. So they lived in the oceans around the globe, from the Triassic through the Jurassic and until the mid-Cretaceous.
And these ichthyosaurs that we worked on are quite fascinating because they come from the early radiation of ichthyosaurs. So they are actually from Svalbard, and they basically are early Triassic forms. So this is quite important because they tell us about what's happening at that early stage in their evolution. And Lene, the thing about them is that in this study, we used methodologies that were fascinating because they allowed us to give insight about these ichthyosaurs. Do you want to say a little bit about these?
Yeah, so what we did here is that we had a lot of fossils from the early Triassic, which is interesting because it tells us about the early evolution of this group. We had two different types, so ichthyosaurs, Grippia and Symbospondylus, that were excavated at Svalbard. And we had a lot of vertebral centra, so parts of the vertebral column, that we sectioned and looked inside, looking at their microanatomy and histology.
And we had some fascinating results from this. And I think we just quickly want to go through the key findings in the study. So I'll let you talk about this first.
Yeah, so the first key finding is that we can clearly see that pelagic adaptations, so adaptations in these ichthyosaur bodies, evolved less than 5 million years after the end Permian mass extinction. So we can confidently say that now, and that's an important finding for the early evolution of this group.
Fabulous. And then when we looked at the actual microanatomy, we were able to see that there was differences in the microorganization of the bone itself, of the centra. And this suggests that these Grippia and Symbospondylus were using the environment very differently. They had different swimming abilities, and also the structure was different in the different vertebrae. So in terms of the structure, Lene, do you want to maybe go through the structural differences that we see?
Yeah, so the structural differences, they were really striking between these two different animals. And even though they lived quite close, both geographically and temporally, we can see that they used the habitat in different ways. And because microanatomy reflects locomotion and other physical forces, we can see that they were swimming in different ways.
Yep, that was really very interesting. And the histology itself was pretty cool because both of them showed that they grew very rapidly. But what we found is that Symbospondylus was an even faster grower. It had a more rapid growth. And that was pretty cool. And as Lene said, one of the really fascinating things about our study is that we had this spectacular growth series from really embryonic aged individuals right up to mature adults. But Lene, tell us more about what was really fascinating about these ichthyosaurs, the babies.
Yeah, so we have to mention the babies, or even unborn babies, because the tiniest vertebral centra that we have are 5 millimeters approximately, and we have them from both taxa, and they are fetal specimens, so they're unborn ichthyosaur babies, among the oldest in the world, and they could show us how these animals were growing from fetuses to adults, and we can see birth lines, and we can see these signs of rapid growth.
Fantastic. If you want to know more about the details of the histology and the details of our work, please find the paper. It's coming out in Scientific Reports on the 5th of September. So look out for it and enjoy the paper. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lene.
Thank you.